So as Nate mentioned again, today is talking about Import and Link Manager, specific to just some general workflow type things that you might do. And there's a couple of other topics up and coming here pretty soon. We're going to go pretty focused on DWG management. So I'm going to breeze over that today, but I'm going to kind of review what we talked about last week, which was kind of the overview of Import Link Manager, just in case you didn't make last week. I'm going to breeze through it pretty quickly here. So it lets you update link tabs on received projects, which is something that we're going to demonstrate specifically today. You can manage pin status of components. We'll talk about that one. Manage the work sets of objects. We'll talk about that as well. The ability to swap paths on say, DWG, which we'll talk about later in the next presentation, and how you can remove links, which is something we'll touch on a little bit today and really kind of dig into a bit more next time around. So again, with the updated paths, the nice thing about this is you can use this updated paths on received models before you even open the model. Before you even do the open detached, you can do this updating of your paths. You can switch path types from absolute to relative. Again, this is while you're doing this prior to even receiving the model. So you can make your models before you link them into your production model much more efficient for Revit models. We'll take a look at that process. We're also going to go through the main interface a little bit here and take a look at pin status and work set of LinkedIn Revit models. You're going to see the ability to unpin or pin something and change the instance work set specifically. The instance work set, not the type work set. We'll take a look at type work sets a little bit as well, a little bit later on. There is the ability to do some management here of CAD imports and links, which we're going to cover at a later date, which is our next presentation in the future. We'll talk about that in a little while here when that's going to be. And the ability to easily remove DWGs, link DWGs, Revit models, import images. And I'll talk about this specific to Revit models today and about DWGs in the next presentation. So with that, let's jump directly into Revit here and see this workflow, how this is going to work when you receive a model and just doing some general maintenance on it. So within Revit today, we're going to start from just the main splash screen. And I'm starting here because there's a model I've got on my desktop. I've just downloaded these models. I'm just going to pull this off to my screen here. I've got CAD files on my desktop here in my CTC building folder. And I've got a couple of models that I received, I think it was yesterday, and I saved them as if they were for today. So they're brand new. They don't know their central files yet. They can't find their originals. They're just sitting there. And I'm going to work with the architecture model today and replace all of its paths and eventually reestablish it as a central file. And then you'll see, of course, the backup folder show up inside of here. In the next presentation, we'll also use the CAD files in the background here to update the CAD files inside this architectural model as well. For right now, what I'm going to do is start in just a start from scratch file. So new project, no real template, because I don't care what template I'm in. I'm not going to keep this particular project file. I just have to be in some kind of a file for me to be able to gain access to add-in tools like the Revit Express tool. So with the Revit Express tools here at the top, over in the Manager Suite, I'm going to go grab the Import and Link Manager tool. There aren't any links in this model. It's just a start from scratch unnamed project file. But what I'm going to be able to do is use the load, unload files from an external project. Now I'm going to go ahead and open up that project file right here. And this is the one that's going to come from my desktop. I'm just going to paste my path in here. It's my desktop folder right there for me, my username, my desktop, and my CTC building folder. It's the same one we were just looking at a moment ago here. I'm going to grab this Revit architecture model. This is the one that we're going to focus on today. I'm going to open this up. And what it's going to do is look inside that model. Now, I haven't opened it up yet. I haven't done a detach from central. I have not yet established it as a central file. And yet, I can get access through the Import and Link Manager before even opening it up to make sure that all three of these individual paths know where they're supposed to be pointed. So the desired status is that it will be loaded, provided it can be found. In this case, it wasn't found, so I'm going to go ahead and reload it from. So I'm going to do a load from. I'm going to choose, that's the structural model. Let's choose the correct model here, structural. I'm going to click OK. Now, that's just going to guarantee it's going to have the right path. Now, it may have been a relative path before. If I pull this over, yeah, I guess it doesn't show it to me here. But if it was a relative path before, it may have found it, but I'm just going to help guarantee that it's going to find the correct file. It doesn't look like it's changing my path much over here because it probably was relative. But I'm going to go ahead and load in also my mechanical file, and I'm going to load in my electrical file, load from electrical here. So I've got that. Now, if I did want to change my unit format classifications or my Revit keynotes up here, I could change them as well if those weren't relative paths. And then there's also a couple of linked DWGs here. Since I'm in this interface and those are linked, I could choose to go in here and reload those from as well. This is a B03, so I could go here to my CAD files and find the B03 drawing file and just update that path so it knows where it's going, which is the CAD files folder. And the same thing here, reload from, and I'm going to grab, that's the B04. I could grab that since I'm here, and I'm just going to make sure that it's ready to go before I load it in, before I even open it up, so that Revit doesn't sit there and take 15 seconds for each one of these links and try and search around and find something that it's never going to find. That way it'll make it open up lightning quick. So once I'm done with this, I'm going to go ahead and hit apply. And it's going to tell me here that the load, unload status of this and that the repathing is going to take effect the next time this document is open. That's good. That's what I want it to do. So I'm going to go ahead and close this down. I'm going to shut down this import link manager, and I'm going to close down this junk project file that I don't need anymore. So I've just received a project, just downloaded it. Before I even opened it up, I got into that import link manager reload area and reloaded all the links so that it knows where something is supposed to be found based on. Now I'm going to open that up. So I'm going to use the open command here, go to my desktop, find my project, and find that architectural project. Now, one thing you'll notice, if I just take a normal project file that hasn't been run through import link manager, you'll have the option of doing a detach from central, right? I can choose or unchoose this box. If I don't choose it and I try to open it up, it's going to try to figure out where that central file is. Obviously, I want to detach it because it's on a new network. When I run it through the import link manager, we actually set a flag inside of there when we apply the setting that forces it to detach it from central. It's going to open it up as a detached copy. And so that's what I'm going to be doing here. I'm going to go ahead and open this up. I'm going to save this model as a central file in its current location, so it actually saves me a step of doing the save as the central file. It's going to open up that existing project. It's going to be opening it up detached. As a matter of fact, while I'm opening this all up right now, it's even recreating those backup copies out here for my links because it found all three of them. And now, as soon as it's opened up fully, it actually saved this project file right here as the central file. So it did all that automatically after I got that simple repathing done. So this is now actually my central file. And I can run my sync to central. I can give up control of everything. And it saved me sort of a step. I didn't have to go open up the model detached, check that box, and then run save as and try and save over that model, and then go into the insert tab and go to manage links because I already did all the manage links part, and then import link manager actually saved me the extra steps of doing the save as and the sync to central. Well, the sync to central I still had to do, but the save as portion, replacing the name, I didn't have to worry about. It happened automatically because of that flag we set inside the model itself through the import link manager window. Now, once I'm inside the model, in this case the architectural model, if I was going to do production inside of here, or if I was going to open up, say, a mechanical model, if I'm a mechanical engineer and I want to just kind of double check some settings, I can go back here to my Revit Express Tools tab, and I could go back over to Import and Link Manager, and this time I can use the main window. Now, there's a lot of DWGs that are inside here. There's a couple of CAD links that are DWGs. There's a couple of imports that are DWGs. In fact, these two CAD links right here, you can see the path has already been reset to my desktop, as well as those structural, mechanical, electrical links. Those paths have also been set to my desktop. Now, they're still relative tabs, but it's showing me the actual fully resolved location right here. It's showing me the file sizes of each of those models and the fact that they are also loaded. So it found everything and it loaded everything. Now, for the case of the DWGs, I'm going to save those for later. Those I'm going to work on with you at a later date in the next presentation. So all these that are .dwg, I'm going to ignore those. The Revit models right here, I'm going to focus on those today. With these, I can actually see whether or not these files happen to be pinned. In this case, it looks like all three of these are not pinned, and I probably want them to be pinned. So I can go up here and just choose the pin option. What it'll do is actually set the flag for every instance of this Revit structure link. It'll go ahead and set that to a pinned status, so it'll make it so it can't move around. And if I have my selection settings set up correctly in Revit, it'll also have it set so that I can't select it because it's a pinned object, if that's one of the selection options I happen to have. I can do the same thing for mechanical and for electrical. If I have a lot of them, I'm not going to want to do each individual one and pin each one. I'm going to want to probably select them all, just using the left-hand side over here where the grid is, and choose pin for all of them. Then what it'll do is it'll pin everything that's selected over there. You don't actually toggle the pin status by clicking the box right here. You actually toggle the pin status by hitting pin or unpin at the top up here. So that's just kind of an important note right there. So I can select all three and pin them all. In addition, I can take a look at these and just make sure that they're on the correct instance work set. In this case, my Revit link structural, mechanical, and electrical, if I look at the actual file name, mechanical, electrical, structural, it looks like they are all on the correct work set. If they weren't for some reason, if they were on the wrong work set, I could always drop this change work set option down and choose from whatever work sets happen to exist in my project. This means I don't have to go try and find the link, try and select the link, or change my selection status if it's pinned or if it's a link. I can't select those normally. Change my selection status first, and then come back and grab the actual link, and then change its work set through Revit through the properties window. I don't have to do that. I can do it right here. I can see what the work set is, and then change my work set right from here. So I can make this, in this case, is mechanical already, but I could change it, to something else. I could go, oh yeah, go to the electrical work set, and it'll change that. Or yeah, go ahead and go back to the mechanical work set. So I can update that pretty easily. In the case of the DWGs and the images, I can do the same basic things for that, right? I can grab one of these. This happens to be an imported DWG, and I could do the pin status on it or unpin it or whatever I wanted. I could change its work set as well if it was a DWG that was not linked to the current view only. I could actually change its work set. If it's current view only like this guy is right here, then I can't really do much. I mean, I could try to change the work set, but it won't do anything. If I go here to the interior one, I drop this one down, I can say, you know what, you're actually supposed to go to your CAD link work set. So I can make that switch right there and put those DWGs on the CAD link work set where they actually belong. We're going to talk more about that in our next presentation. Today's presentation, I wanted to give you a real quick overview of this workflow right here that we just did. So we did two primary things. We used the load unload files on a project that was not open. I went and opened that project through this load unload files window, and I found which one it was I wanted to deal with. So I'm going to go back to my desktop real quick, and we'll do the electrical file real quick here. So here's my CTC building. Here's the electrical model. I can open this up. Should let me open it. Oh, it's actually being edited in the background there, so I can't actually grab it right now. So it's actually being actively used as an open linked model right through here. So I can't actually touch that one. But normally I'd be able to grab that, open that up, and then I can change those links just like before. So that's step one of this workflow. When you receive a model from an outside consultant or outside architect, structural engineer, whomever, I like to reset their paths right away. Or if you don't want to have those components loaded at all, you can just choose unload and it'll remove them, or at least have them set to an unloaded flag. All right, so once I've done that, after I open up my main model again, you want to just go through and use this to kind of, as a BIM manager, start querying through your models. And I do this on a regular basis in my project. I take a look at things that are pinned and not pinned. I double check work sets where things are placed, just to make sure that everything is all correct and placed on the right work set. So that's your general workflow here for general model maintenance. Now there's technically one more step for these Revit links that I want to point out for you that you generally would want to make sure you do. In here, I double check my work set here for the Revit link structural. It's actually Revit link structural, or I have Revit link mechanical matching my Revit link mechanical. This is once again the instance work set of the placed link. You can load a Revit model in, and you can have as many instances technically as you want. Normally, with a Revit model, you'd have one instance of that model placed. If it's an overall building model, you'd usually have one. Every once in a while, those of you on the architectural side, you may have unit links for something like multifamily residential, or you might have units for, say, a healthcare configuration where you've got certain types of suites that are repeated. You might turn those into a link and bring those in. And you may have multiple instances of those. Well, each of the instances should be on their own, not their own work set. It should be on whatever the main work set is, probably for the main link itself, or possibly it might be on like an interior architecture work set, or maybe it's on like a level by level work set, depending on how you break out your actual building. Maybe you've got like level 1 interior architecture work set. If it's a huge model and you need to kind of micro control what's open and what's not, you could potentially do that. You can use this to see what the instance work set is. In this case, these are overall building models. I've got structural, mechanical, and electrical here. What I'm going to do is, after I've done these little minor settings here, I'm going to close this down. Those settings have already been changed. I'm going to close this down and double check down here underneath my links, my Revit links here at the very bottom. I can grab each of these individual links, and just by clicking through them, I can see what their type work set is as well. So I can click here on the electrical link, and I can see the type work set here happens to be Revit Link Electrical. I can go over here to the mechanical and see that it's Revit Link Mechanical, and structural should be, oh, look at that one's wrong. Okay, so this one should actually not be on shared levels and grids. It should be on the Revit Link Structural. So what I'm going to do is edit this. I'm going to double click on it through the project browser, and I'm going to take this work set option right here and swap this out for Revit Link Structural. I like making sure that my main link absolutely is on its own individual work set. I find that makes it a little bit more granular for you to be able to go through when you're opening up a model and choosing not to load a particular link. If I actually chose not to open Revit Link Structural before, it would have not opened up the instance of that Revit link, but it would have still loaded the type in the memory because it was actually on the wrong work set. So you want to make sure as much as possible you match these up. At least the primary definition of that link should be on a Revit link type work set, whatever you want to call it, X-Link, Revit link, something, but know that it's the link for that particular model. Each model should have its own. So in this case, I just went through and did some general maintenance on the type and modified that to make sure that that one was correct. So all three of these now are on their correct work set. That one, of course, is currently owned by me right now. If I was to go select the instances, they're probably owned by me right now as well because I had just recently gone through and changed which work set they were and changed their pin status. So the instances of these out in my model someplace, they're also owned by me, I would suspect. In fact, if I right-click on this and I did select all instances in the entire project, there should be one link. It should be on the correct work set, and it should be edited by me. So that's correct. But because of the Import Link Manager, I don't have to go through and right-click, select all instances for each one of these. I can simply do it right through the Revit Express Tools Import and Link Manager window. I can just grab them right through here and make those modifications.